how to photograph your paintings using a mobile phone. Here are 8 tips on how to do just that. The first thing is natural light, so the light from a window rather than false lighting within the ceiling or anything like that. And that will give you much better colours within your photograph, but also will help balance those light and dark tones within the photograph. I don't like to take photographs in the sun because it can put a little bit too much glare on the white paper, and also show the texture of the paper as well. In some cases that's fine, but in most cases I like to make sure the texture is not showing too much. But this will alter if you're painting with canvases. So if you're an oil painter, acrylic painter, anything like that, then you might want the texture of the canvas. That would be different. So depending on the medium that you're using will depend on the outcome for the photograph that you want. You can also buy what's called a reflector, and this is a foldable material. It's a bit like tin foil really, but it's not, it's very, very shiny indeed. And people use them for filming, for taking photographs, and it helps to bounce the light around the room. So if you find that part of your paper is not illuminated enough, you can stand behind the painting with something like this to bounce the light back on the other side of the picture. And of course you could use a piece of paper on a tin board or a white sheet of card as well. And there's also soft boxes, and all it is a very large box as you can see here with enormous spiral bulbs inside them. I was very surprised when I bought these when I saw the size of those bulbs. But these filming lights are very inexpensive to buy compared to the more expensive ones, which are digital LEDs, and you can alter the colours and the light warmth and so on with those as well. But to be honest with you, yeah, they're quite pricey, and if you're on a budget then these box lights will certainly do the job, but they do take up quite a lot of space. Now this may sound quite obvious, clean that phone. I know, because very often you take a photograph and then forget to clean that lens. I do that all the time when I'm out and about, and I know I'm not the only one, of course not. So make sure you use a soft cloth to clean your lenses on your camera, especially the rear facing camera, before you take a photograph of that painting. Now depending on the make of the phone that you've got will depend on the settings that you have on your camera. And some phone cameras have quite an array of settings on them, and others are very basic. And the only way you're going to learn this is by playing with the settings on that phone you've got and seeing what each one will do. That's what I did. So, for example, when you look at this one, the first thing I wanted to do is go into the settings and look for something called grid lines. And this is also called the rule of thirds. It's a good way of trying to get your painting correctly into that photograph, because you can use the edges of these grid lines to line it up. But we'll talk about that next. And on my camera, I've also got a spirit level as well. So I can try and get the spirit level spot on in the middle, so it goes yellow in my case. But this also depends on whether your painting is also level underneath, so bear that in mind. Also make sure that you stand directly over that painting as well. You've also noticed I've got my painting level below me. You can put it on a wall, but the beauty about having the painting below you is that you can move the painting left and right, back and forth as much as you want, as well as your camera. At least having it flat on the surface gives you the opportunity then to give you many more finer adjustments to adjust that photograph just right. Also make sure that your phone is on the highest possible setting for your photos as well. But also you want to look at the sides of this as well. Now I can see straight away from this is that you can see that my painting is wider at the bottom and gets slimmer as it goes away. So in other words, I'm not directly over the top of that painting. So what I tend to do is tap the screen right over the top of the painting so I can get that focus spot on to begin with. Now one thing I forgot to do with my painting here is to tape it down. I know, because when I take it off my block pad, I use a glue pad all the way around on my watercolour pad, I find that the paper's a little bit too warped. So if you try photographing a warped sheet of paper, you find, well, it won't be flat on your photograph either, will it? And what I tend to do, especially with watercolour, is use a low tack tape and tape it onto a board first. And as long as it's near enough flat, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you're working with a canvas, then you find it's very often flat anyway, so this shouldn't be an issue for you. But it's always worth making sure that your painting is just about flat, regardless of the medium that you've used. Now one way of really making sure that your painting stays put and your camera stays put, so you get a nice steady overhead shot, is by using a tripod. Now the only thing by using a tripod is you've got to watch out for shadows. That's the first thing. As you can see here on my monarch butterfly painting, is that I've got a shadow from the tripod leg right across the picture. Now there's an attachment you can buy for your mobile phone to go on the top of a tripod, and as you can see here, that's called a phone mount, and they're not expensive. I think at the moment, the time of filming, I think they range between £6 and £10, so probably between $7 and $15 thereabouts, depending on where you buy it from and also the quality of the mount, because they certainly do vary. I mean, this one I've got here is a boom arm, And that works really well, but it's also quite tricky to kind of set up because it does kind of shake a little bit. Once you've got it in position, it's not too much of a problem. But you can push it back and forth. It's got a bit of a bevel on it as well, so you can twist it and tilt it as much as you want to. And there's another version. This is a sprung arm desk clamp. So you can buy these for fitting a microphone on. You can also buy them for obviously cameras and so on. And also for fitting lights on as well. Just do a search for something like mobile phone camera desk mount or cell phone desk mount, anything like that. And you'll be spoiled for choice for the varieties that's out there on the market. Now the painting table mount is really good because once you've got it all lined up, then you can use the settings on that phone to be able to take that photograph. In this case, I'm using the timer. Because the thing is, when you press that button on your phone to take a photograph, that creates a bit of a shake, doesn't it, on the camera? And that shake could then give you a slightly blurred image. So using that timer facility on your phone will ensure you get a nice, sharp, crisp photograph of that painting. Now many cameras come with a facility to be able to adjust your photographs. There's very often like a little pencil or pen icon you can click on. And within those adjustments you've got skew, so I can skew it vertically and horizontally, and try to get it just about right. So I don't want it wide at the bottom and thin at the top. I want my painting to be equal top and bottom and the left and right hand side. So working with a skew facility will help to correct that. And then you can rotate it as well. So you've skewed it, you've rotated it. Once you've got that about right, then you can start thinking about cropping it down. So I'm going to get rid of all that background, the border I've got it on at the moment, and crop it down to an even border all the way around. Then save it. So now I've got a photograph of my painting which I can either have professionally printed or share to social media. So dig into those camera settings on your smartphone, iPad or tablet or any other device that you've got. Have a play and see what you can do.